Okay, so my fellowship project was actually a joint project. I had the pleasure to work with Pola Lehmann here at the Thomas Mann House. And I guess our starting point was the societal division, the societal polarization that we see here in the United States. And we kind of thought that we go to maybe the most controversial issue, or one of the most controversial issues, and that's education. So naturally, what you teach your kids at school is something that is very controversial, that's very close to your heart. So we thought that we go to school boards and actually talk to school board members, but then also to parents, to teachers. We talk to librarians. We talked to a lot of different people. We also went to pro-Trump rallies and to the headquarters of the Democratic Party, and just to find out how people talk with each other, to what extent they are able and willing to find compromise with each other, and how they interact, and to see actually how polarized the society is. So what we did is that we did a road trip. We went both to rural areas, but then also metropolitan areas. We've been to states, so all in the west of the US. So we've been in Utah, in Nevada, and here in California. And we've been to places that were dominated by Republicans and others that were more leaning towards the Democrats. And I think the idea of our project was to gather a lot of material, to do a lot of interviews, to get a lot of insights, get a lot of impressions. And over the past months, we've been in contact with a lot of different people, heard a lot of different perspectives, and now the future task will be to come to terms with this wealth of information. So it was a fantastic experience to be here. Before coming here, I read a lot of his biographies and diaries, and saw some pictures of the house. So I think I came prepared. But then entering this house and living here was something different. It was very special. You have around the corner here, you have his office where he wrote Dr. Faustus, the Josefs Romane, where he wrote these speeches, Deutsche Hörer. So it's you feel the history while being here, and I actually have now the privilege to live in his sleeping room, and staying there. You almost feel the Mann family around you. So that was a unique experience. But then on the other hand, it was also very light to live here. Sometimes you almost forget that you're in the house of Thomas Mann, so natural does it feel to you. But then some visitors come, or some other people come, and then it hits you what wonderful place you are. And I think it's very light to live here, because the interaction with the fellows have been very easy, very nice, very insightful, very interesting. But then the whole team that runs this house, so Oliver is the director, and then Benno and Clara as the program directors, they're just so helpful and kind and professional that it was always a pleasure to be here. So I'm very grateful that I could spend time here. I've been here during the US elections, and that was interesting in many ways. So I think the major vulnerability that I could observe while being here, or the vulnerability of a democracy, is that people might fall into a demagogue and follow what a demagogue says. It was difficult for me to understand what happened. So when you teach politics, you do have a political opinion. I think that's clear, and you should have one. But then you're also trained to look at politics with a bit more distance and have this analytical distance towards your subject. But I felt that in the last months and weeks, maybe due to all these conversations that we had with a lot of different people, with a lot of different political opinions, it has become much more of a personal concern to think about the resilience, the future of democracy. And then being here at the Thomas Mann House, where you know that democracy has been defended very fiercely, maybe it adds a special layer to this feeling. So what I did while being here is that I read the letter exchange between Thomas Mann and Karl Löwenstein. So Löwenstein was a friend and he also visited here, and he's known for articles that he wrote in the 30s about how democracies should defend themselves, so the German concept of wehrhafte Demokratie. And Thomas Mann was actually one of those who popularized the idea of militant democracy, wehrhafte Demokratie. So the topic, the annual theme, accompanied me while being here, and I often thought about how democracies can and should defend themselves against these threats that we observed here. Yeah, that's difficult to say, but let me identify two things, one more work-related and one more personal maybe. So the work-related highlight was the moment in which I recognized that the workshop that we planned for quite a while, and where we had a lot of help from the Thomas Mann House team, that it actually worked. So it was a bit of a risk. So we put together in a workshop political activists, journalists, writers, and then social scientists, and we discussed the limits and values of political compromise in our liberal societies. And we were a bit nervous at the beginning. We didn't know if it's going to work and to what extent they're going to interact, because people who are very active, say, in climate change or active in migration topics might have a completely different view to what extent we should compromise on certain topics, and might also have other concerns, whereas academics come from bring in a different perspective. And that was really a risk for us, but I'm now very, very happy that we did it. And I think the moment, the second day of the workshop, when I thought, okay, it's going to work, everyone is fine, they're in the midst of these discussions, don't worry, it's working. So I think that was work-wise, it was a highlight. On a personal basis, beyond the interactions, the daily interactions that we have here, and the great people I was able to meet here, I think every fellow, I don't know if everyone says it, but most of people think that the light here is something extraordinary. And I said before that I had the pleasure to live in Thomas Mann's sleeping room, and from the balcony you can see the sunrise and the sunset. Even from the bed you could see it actually. And then waking up or seeing the sunset in the evening, and this amazing light, the colors here, that is something that I think I won't forget. So whatever you do at this moment, I don't know if you sit at the desk and you write something, you stop, you pause, you watch the spectacle for some time. Yeah, and that was extraordinary.